Today, the shockingly great firmware 2.0 for Nikon Z6 III, plus what I'm packing with it and how for my Oregon Coast workshop next week. Well, hey everyone, welcome to this week's video. So we'll run quickly first through some of the cool new things that they've incorporated in the Z6 III that actually really surprised me. Things I would have thought they would have held back for their flagships Z8 and Z9s. Clearly not. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll also talk a little bit about the Z9's firmware status. I know that's a little controversial. And finally, we're going to wrap up with me putting all of this stuff in the bag and describing what it is that I'm choosing to take on my wild southern Oregon coast workshop next week with Rick LePage and an amazing group of participants. We're going to be potentially doing Milky Way, so I've got some night photography specific gear. We're going to be doing landscapes, of course, on that spectacular coastline. And there's potential for wildlife too. So I'll show you what's all going in the bag. And of course, everything I'm talking about is available. You know, you can find links to it. Those links help us out with the photography training that we do. So if you run over to hudsonhenry.com/ATS links or just click right here, that really helps us out and we appreciate it. Okay. So let's talk Z6 III for a second. This is a camera that I reviewed a while back. I did a setup guide for, and I said, I'm not going to keep it. I love the feel and look and controls on my ZF so much. And I have a Z9, so I sort of stuck with having a Z52, which I'm filming this with right now, the Z9 and the ZF in the Nikon realm, alongside my Leica Q3. I know I'm a little bit spoiled. But this firmware 2.0 update comes and it brings things that you would only expect to see in the Z8 and the Z9. It brings auto capture, you know, turning the camera into a camera trap, an automated camera trap with all the controls that you would have in the Z8 and the Z9. It comes with the focus limiting system that we just saw recently updated on the Z8. It comes with recall shooting functions hold, that ability to tap a programmable button and change every parameter of the camera in an instant. Say you want to go from knock around handheld, just everyday mode, to sports and action in an instant as a bird flies into the scene. Gives you some incredible ability to adjust your action autofocus modes at the touch of a button, like turn off subject detection. So we'll talk about all of that in a subsequent video. I'm going to take this thing on my Southern Oregon Coast workshop. I've clearly gotten another one. I'm going to mess around with it and practice with everything, get everything dialed in. I'll be doing a setup video, just a subsequent sort of addendum to the original setup video for this camera. You know, anytime I do videos about specific cameras, if you go to my YouTube channel where you are right now and click on the playlists link on the homepage of it, you'll see that I have playlists for each camera. You know, the Z8 and the Z9 playlist has 37 videos in it from every single update since it's been released, along with new thoughts and new things that I've come up with since the launch of those cameras. So I'll do the same with the Z6 III. There's a playlist already for it. So I'll be updating settings and giving a new settings file that people with the Z6 III can download for firmware 2.0 with changes and updates and new thoughts. So look for that video soon. But I'm really, really shocked at what they've incorporated in this. They've really turned it into a smaller version of the Z8 with a 24 megapixel sensor and slightly different control system. I actually like the user 1, user 2, user 3. It's a little less convoluted than the banks from my perspective for many people. So anyhow, stay tuned for more about this camera. It's coming along with me and I'll show you how I'm packing it. I want to talk really quickly before we jump into packing for the coast about the Z9, just because I hear people griping. You know, the Z8 got all these new features and functions, manual focus, subject detection, focus limitation, all these different things, new C modes. True, and the Z9 has yet to get those. And one of the ones I want more than anything is manual focus subject detection. And I believe, based on Nikon's track record, they've been doing updates to some of the DSLRs recently. They're eventually going to get around to updating the Z9. A lot of people think it's some conspiracy. They're not going to put any of these features into the Z9 until the Z9 II launches. If that's true, if that's really what they're thinking, it's very tone deaf, and it doesn't seem very Nikon-like, because I honestly believe that based on what you're looking at right now here with the Z6 III, they've been amazing with firmware updates. And they've kept updating the original Z6 and Z7 and D850 and D500 as much as they possibly can. So I don't think they're maliciously withholding the firmware update. I would guess that's what's happening is we are close to a Z9 II. There's lots of rumors flying around about what changes that's going to bring. And probably the team that works on the Z9s are just swamped with trying to get all of the bugs and things out of that camera pre-launch in order to make it in time for their launch window that they have set. So that's my take, is that they're probably maybe being a little tone deaf, not noticing what that's doing to the community, and that they will update the Z9. I hope they do it before the Z9 II launches, but we'll see. I have no crystal ball on that. All right, that's my take. I don't doubt for a second that we'll get all the features that you're seeing in the Z8 and now the Z6 III in the Z9. It's just, when is the question? All right, so let's pack. Let's talk about it. So I've decided that the Z6 III is what I'm bringing. I haven't fully decided. I might take the Z9 in the 400 TC bag and throw it in the van just in case we encounter some amazing wildlife along the road. But mainly because of the action capabilities in that 400 TC lens, just having a camera ready to go on the lens in the lens bag, that would be handy. But the camera I'm going to use on this trip, the two cameras, are really the Q3, which I always have with me. You know, I went for a walk in one of our beautiful state parks that's 5 minutes from my house here in Portland and grabbed the Q3 to take photos of my kids and their friends on our hike this morning. That's the camera I always have with me. It always comes on workshop, so that's just a no-brainer. It and some filters. But the Nikon I'm bringing to planning to shoot night skies, landscapes, everything else is this Z6 III. If the landscape's really important to me, I'll shoot panorama. I'll make sure I get it dialed in. I'll use super resolution to boost that 24 megapixels to 96 megapixels. I don't worry too much about shooting with a 24 megapixel camera. What I love is the ability to shoot with 8 stops of in-body image stabilization like the ZF and handhold down to 1/6 of a second with no problem. And have really great quality results from a noise perspective at 20,000 ISO that come completely clean with denoising. So I'm excited about this camera and testing some of its capabilities. It's what's coming with me. All right. So the first thing I do before I ever pack any body into my camera for travel is pull the lens. And I know some people like to do it differently. I put the body cap on, I put the lens butt cap on, and I pack them separately. And the reason for that is it gives me more space in the bag, not having to flare the bag around the body lens connection, as well as protects the camera better. If things get jounced and they're connected, you can wind up damaging the mount, or either on the lens or on the camera body, or both. And that can ruin a trip, right? So I just feel like it's safer and it provides more room in my bag. The bag I'm taking is NYA-EVO's brand new Generation 4 60C. I've been playing around with this bag. I wound up with a black version to replace my red old 60C. I love the red, but the black is pretty cool, and I love the fact that, well, I did a video recently. You can see all the things I like about the new Gen 4. You can click right here. I won't go too much into detail. But just to get some things off the table and out of the way, one thing I'm taking with me is my Move Shoot Move Star Tracker, and I'm using a little NYA-EVO extra small removable camera insert, which I like to keep out so I can just drop it in my bag when we're doing the night shoot. I'm putting my Move Shoot Move Star Tracker, weighs not very much, the laser, the polar alignment scope, the illuminated reticle, and everything is in that little bag along with batteries. I've got my 1.8 Nikon, which is my favorite lens to do star photography with. It's so sharp to the corners, wide open at 1.8 with almost no coma or chromatic aberration. And then my my Acratech Ultimate, or actually, yeah, Acratech Ultimate head, the old original Ultimate head, which works so well when you're tilted on a star tracker. It lets you do any kind of composition that you want so easily. So I just dropped those 3 things right into my extra small NYA-EVO RCI, and we can set that aside till later, all right? All right, so let's put camera stuff in the bag. So I'm gonna turn it around, flip the shoulder straps back up over so that we get them out of the way, and open that main compartment up. All right, I've got some filters here. And I'm using a medium removable camera insert that I'm using some of NYA-EVO's kind of custom cut foam board inserts. They're called Grumblers. That's like a separate company of theirs. I don't sell those, but I can link those at B&H. I'll put a link to them in this video's description. You can cut and use different colored pieces and manage your own thing. I think that the removable camera insert system for NYA-EVO's removable camera inserts is great. I was just playing around with this, and I like the way that it gives me just a little bit more space. So I'm taking my 100 to 400 Z lens, the S lens, with the Kirk foot on it. All that's the accessories that I love for this lens are linked with the lenses, and I actually have a little Velcro piece in this bag and a camera lens cleaning cloth behind it just to pat it a little bit in the upper section, and I put the hood under that little stretchy strap that comes with the NYA-EVO camera dividers. I have this space cut for the Z9 so I can easily drop the Z9 into it, so the Z6 III fits in there with lots of room to spare. I could put something soft in there too if I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and put my 14 to 24 2.8S, my favorite ultra wide angle lens for coast landscapes and things, into that little middle slot right there, and put a keeper, Velcro keeper over the top of it. My 24 to 120 jack of all trades. I love this lens. I'm going to be testing the new 24 to 70 version 2S, the 2.8 version 2 here in the months ahead, but I expect to not keep it and continue using the 24 to 120. I love the versatility of this lens. And in the situations that I shoot, I'm not shooting indoor sports or indoor performances or low lit night scenes. This thing works great for the type of work I do, travel and landscape with some wildlife thrown in. So I'm sticking that lens right in there. So that's the 24 to 120. I have my beloved 50 1.0 Voigtlander lens, the old manual focus lens. I'm excited to play around with manual focusing on the Z6 III. I'm going to put that down in that compartment next to the camera body. I'm putting my 1.4 teleconverter, which I can slap on to the 100 to 400 if I wind up with wildlife that's a little far distant from me, and get the equivalent of a 560. And I'm just going to slip that into that little middle slot right there. So that's all set. Then I'm going to take my case 112 millimeter filter hood, which has this beautiful press fit back cap, and it fits Nikon's HB97 cap really well with the spinning turntable for your polarizer. It's a magnetic turntable that the 112 millimeter magnetic filters just work fabulously on. I'm going to put that cap on it and slip that under the divider. This divider keeps anything in the upper compartment from mixing up with your camera gear. And then I'm going to put the 112 millimeter, I've got a 112 millimeter plus mega kit. We just got those in the store. We have all the plus kits and filters, the new anti-reflective version of the Revolution filters. So I'm sticking that in under that too. And then in this little pocket that's in the back panel right here, I like to be able to just reach in there, and I'm sticking a couple of little adapters. I have a plus 112 millimeter magnetic cap. They're easier to take off, so you can pull them off without removing the filters from either the hood or from the filter adapter. And then I have a 77 to 112 millimeter filter adapter, which fits the 77 millimeter filter I'll be doing the night sky photography with, the 100 to 400, the 24 to 120. That hood fits the 14 to 24. And then I have a 62 to 112 magnetic adapter that'll take the magnetic filters on the 51.0 should I have some reason to want to do that. And I just slip those right there. I can easily pull them out and spin them onto a lens as I mount it on the camera if I want to use them with filters, a polarizer, a neutral density, or a night filter, as the case might be. So there you go. That's the inside of my camera bag, what I have access to by just pulling the bag off and zipping that section open. All right. Then turning the bag around, I'm going to pop the little side compression straps. There are two of them, one on each side. They're short compression straps. They're great for attaching a camera bag. I'm not going to put anything in the dry bag, the expansion dry bag that takes you up towards that 60 liter max capacity. This thing goes from about 44 liters in the way it's configured right now to 66 if you roll up this integrated separate kayak grade dry bag that's on the top of it, which is wonderful for putting wet gear or keeping dry things out of wet gear, given whichever case you want. And then the pack expands out this way with these side zippers that open up to let the whole thing pop out this way with that front pocket beeper. I don't need to do any of that. So when I open this up, I've got a whole lot of space here. It's right on top. I can feel my case magnetic hood. I can feel my case 112 filters right there. And I'm just gonna throw some things in here that I might want on the Oregon coast. One is a lightweight Patagonia Torrent shell jacket. Boom, that's in there. I've got a nice warm Arc'teryx hat and some Outdoor Research Touch Tech gloves that can keep my fingers warm doing night shooting. I got a little lightweight Patagonia merino wool hat. I'm gonna stick those in there, just kind of pad everything out. I'm gonna put my Inu power delivery capable battery bank, which I have listed in the links page on my site, that will fuel up the camera in very, very short period of time. I plug my camera into this, like while I'm taking a break, in the photo bag and top the battery off in between shoots. And I just never need to switch batteries. Although I'm gonna bring a couple of spare batteries, and I've got a pack cover, a fully waterproof pack cover that NYA-EVO includes with every bag, which I can just zip into the top compartment right here if I want to. But just in case things get really wet and I don't want my gear, this is a durable water repellent coating on these bags, but just in case it gets so wet that even like your Gore-Tex jacket starts to soak through, this pack cover pops out, covers the whole pack, and keeps it bone dry inside, all right? Another couple things I like to bring along, I like to have this really cheap gardener's knee pad these days, just to protect my knee if I'm kneeling down trying to get low and photograph something. And I like this little, it's a Thermarest product. I've got it in like necessities on my website, but it's this little folding Z-rest. It's kind of a miniature of a ultra light foam core sleeping pad. And it's nice if you just want to sit down on the rocks, or you want to kneel down for a while, or put your camera gear down someplace that's muddy. So I keep that out here alongside. And I don't put that in the main top compartment of the bag. I actually put it in this side pocket, which there's one on each side that can expand out and take liter-sized insulated water bottles or something like this. So usually I put that there. And in this case, that's all done and zipped up. Let's go ahead and snap those compression straps. Boom. Snap this compression strap. And if I was mounting my tripod on the bag, I would put the feet sticking just below the bottom like so, and just put those two compression straps around and lock it in place so that it's on the side of the bag but close to my body, where the weight's nice and close to my center of gravity. All right, we'll talk tripod in just a second. So around here to the front, I've got a quick access pocket that I love that has like a carabiner and Allen wrenches and sunscreen and lip balm, flashlight, all that kind of stuff. And one thing I want in there for my night photography shooting is my Princeton Tech Viz headlamp. If I hold its button down for 4 seconds, it unlocks it. It'll flash, there it goes. And then the first press of it, oh, I just locked it. No, first press turns it red. Pressing it in turns it off. First press turns it red, second press turns it off. Oh, a quick second press goes to white light. See, that's the problem. What you want is a light that one press goes red, you give it a few seconds, turn it off, press it again, it's red, right? You have to double press it to get into white. That's what I love about the Princeton Tech Viz. I have that linked on my links page as well. Plus, it's a very, very bright light. So I stick that in there. I definitely want that. I've got some spare batteries. I don't typically need spare batteries these days with power delivery capable cameras and that battery bank, that new battery bank. But often on workshops I have people go, does anyone have a Nikon battery? So I've got a couple spares in case I need one. I can't keep up charging, something happens and we're just shooting. That rarely happens on a landscape focused workshop, but every now and again. So I'm gonna stick that in there just so that I'm set. I've got in this little mesh pocket spare butt cap and camera body cap, and I got some spare lens caps in 77, 62, and the 14 to 24 specialty cap. I got some residual oil remover for cleaning lenses. In here I have a whole bunch of lens cloths and things in case I need to clean lenses. I've got a white balance gray card in here. I've got my Camelback water bladder goes in here. There's a nice place for that to pop out and come around to my shoulder strap if I want, so I can carry water in the front of my bag there. All kind of works really well like that, all right? So that's pretty much my camera bag. I'm ready to throw that on my back and head out. If I want to mount the tripod to it, I can. In a lot of cases on workshops, I just kind of carry it over my shoulder and set it down when I'm not using it. All right, so the Leica. I'm going to be taking the Q3. I tend to sling it on my side while I'm carrying my bag, either with my Luma strap, which I wish you could get Luma straps. You can't. I'll be firmly holding on to my Luma string strap with the QD port as long as I can. I'm still working on an alternative to that for people, but I just keep that ready to go right there. So I can sling the Leica that way, or I can carry it in my mirrorless Mover 10 camera bag like that. It has a magnetic holder, it has zippers, and I have a whole set of case. This is the Plus Mega Kit. I got a UV filter on the camera right now under its hood. They're magnetic. I've got circular polarizer, 3, 6, 10 stop neutral density, and a night filter. And they all just slip with these metal magnetic, came apart there, but these metal magnetic stack caps keep the filters safe. It's a really strong connection. And I just keep those either in my pocket or in there. And then I've got one of the plastic Plus magnetic caps that are easy to take off without taking the filters off with it on the other side. And that's just going to be up in the front of the van with me in case there's something I want to photograph along the way that works at 28 millimeters. All right, so got my night kit. I've got that. The one other thing I want to talk about, and I could shove this into the top of the bag if I wanted to. This extra small RCI could just drop into the top of the bag. But I'm mainly going to just keep it in the van until it's time to do night shooting. All right, so one thing I want to do before I go to the coast is switch the feet on my tripod. And you know, we carry all of these different feet in our store, but for the tall fluid head, which I'm bringing my tall 70 inch, gets up to a maximum of 70 inches, these 324 CL legs that I love from Leo Photo. The whole thing weighs 7 pounds. Whenever I hand this to someone on a workshop, they go, oh no, and then they pick it up and they're like, that's not really very heavy. And it isn't really very heavy. So what I'm going to do, actually I'm just going to pull the fluid head and the leveling adapter off here really fast so that it's not kind of sitting here ungainly with this. So I'm going to set these legs down here, and I'm going to take a long 4mm Allen wrench and stick it through my titanium claws. And I want to open the leg a little bit so that I'm not torquing that joint. And I'm just going to spin that titanium sort of weighs nothing foot that I love in most situations in the outdoors and landscape, rocks and rivers. And I'm going to replace it with this long stainless steel spike. Leo Photo long stainless steel spike, whoops, which has a removable plastic cap, so that can help protect, you know, wood floors or something like that. But stick it into the sand. I've used this for several years. There's not a speck of rust. I do rinse things off at the end of ocean shooting, but if this thing was capable of rusting, it would be rusty. Whenever you're using these, you want to screw the cap on nice and tight. You don't want to lose those. I don't know of a source for getting these separately. I sometimes am able to pull one for someone, but at the moment I don't have any extras. So I'm going to do that to all 3 legs, and the reason for that is working at the coast in sandy conditions. If you stick those spikes, take the caps off and stick the spikes down into the sand and press down hard, you can set your tripod so that even waves rolling over and washing through the scene won't let your tripod move significantly. You can do long exposures in the surf without the waves flying by causing you problems, rolling over the top of your tripod. So if you're comfortable in sandals with your pants rolled up, or you've got waders on, you're set. There we go. Boom. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Boom. And we can pull that off if we want. I think I twisted that just a little bit on its bushing because I wasn't holding it firmly enough. It's really important to hold this firmly and put resistance on it as you're torquing that foot on there. And you don't want to put these things on too tight. You don't want to damage the tripod, but you don't want them loose enough that they're gonna come off, right? So it's really important, that step I'm doing right here where I pull out enough to get a good grip on the actual section of leg that the foot's mounted on and hold it tight. All right, there it goes. It's nice to be able to roll an Allen wrench through there. And then get that spike. And I won't even bring the titanium claws with me on this particular trip. I know I'm going to be so often out on the beach at sunset, and I don't want to be switching feet, so I'm just going to leave the spikes on the tripod for this trip. There we go. I'm not going to torque that leg in its foot bushing, so it should be nice and smooth. There we go. Boom. All right, so we're set. Makes the tripod even just a little bit taller yet. I don't know that this one particularly needs. And we just drop that in and tighten its cam, and we are set for the Oregon coast. All right, so that's what I'm packing. That's how I'm packing it. We'll share some stories from the road. I'm sure this is going to be a great one. The weather's looking pretty good so far. We're keeping an eye on it. It's a little long term as I film this, but we're hoping for, some days with beautiful clouds and at least one good night that's perfectly clear for the Milky Way down there. I love this time of year in the fall shooting Milky Way because you get to go out and shoot Milky Way at like 8:30 or 9 and still get a good night's sleep afterwards. So, all right, everybody. So that's everything for this week. We're going to be doing another office hours. I can't exactly remember the date, but it's before we leave for Scotland in October. So it's coming up, general Q&A. You can sign up for that, a big free group photography get-together. Hit me up with questions. If you have another take on the Z9 firmware or you want to talk about that, give me a question about it. If you want to talk Z6 III stuff, it's pretty incredible what Nikon's done. Any hooch, sign up for that over at hudsonhenry.com/office hours. You can also click right here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope everybody is having a great end to the season, wherever in the world you happen to be. I hope you're staying safe, staying creative, and we'll see you next week.